Alright guys, this video is going to be a bit different. I'm going to take you through an actual sales call with one of our users, break it down, share my thoughts, and hopefully give you some useful takeaways and insights into what it's like selling at a startup. Since I'm out here in the UK, but our company is based in the US, I usually have about 6 hours before anyone I work with actually starts their day. Normally, I'll try to use the time to get a workout in and get some of my individual work done before I start on calls in the afternoon, but since today is a rest day, I'm heading into town to grab some breakfast.
Hiya, can I please get a cinnamon social and a English breakfast tea, please? Yeah, have it.
The first thing I do every day is check our support channels for anyone that might have reached out, check our back end for new users that have checked out the platform, and catch up with any emails I need to respond to. I'll then take a look at my calendar to see what calls I've got coming up today and do any prep that I need to. For sales calls like today, this will typically involve looking at the advisor's website, seeing what kind of services they provide and who their typical demographic is. In my opinion, you can't treat a sales call as a pitch. This is easy to do and something I was definitely guilty of when I first started, but you need to understand the person in front of you, the problems they're going through, and seeing whether what you offer is actually going to be a fit. In this call, you'll see exactly how I approach that. The questions I ask, the cues I pick up on, and the moments where I adjust my approach in real time. Alright, let's get into it.
How's it going?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Very well. Sorry, I've got some really... I'm not sure if the accent maybe gives it away. I'm based out in the UK, so it's kind of evening time for me, and the sun is coming like right in. So if there's some annoying glare or you just can't see me, I apologise for that. But how's your day going so far?
Going pretty good.
I mean, we can dive into all things habits and everything like that. For me, kind of on my side, I'd love to hear a little bit about you, like your kind of story and what led you to today, and I guess what made you reach out to habits. But before we do that, was there anything kind of top of mind that you wanted to make sure we cover?
I just went to your website, honestly couldn't really tell what it does.
Okay.
And just reached out.
Okay, well that's good feedback. Maybe we need to update our website then. But before I dive into habits, I guess, do you mind sharing a little bit about your story, your background, like who it is you typically work with and the services you provide, all of that sort of stuff?
Yeah, our clients tend to be worth, $1 to $5 million. We're just in a wealthier area. And so I just kind of like working with really good people. I call them conscious delegators, living within their means. But at the same time, they want to delegate because they're too busy with whether it's family, work, whatever, and just things have slipped through the cracks. They aren't getting the things done on their to-do list. They're worried they're going to make mistakes, or they have made mistakes, and they want to delegate to an advisor that they trust.
Amazing. I love that. And so I'm intrigued. So you mentioned sort of that 1 to 5 mil is your typical kind of range that you work with. Is that sort of an assets under management model, a flat fee, hybrid of the two? Like how do you go about that?
Assets under management. I charge based on the assets they have. I also don't charge a separate financial planning fee, which I think a lot of firms are doing these days. They'll say investments will charge this percentage. We'll also charge you, $200, $300, $400 a month to cover our financial planning services, whether it's tax planning, retirement projection. I cover all that. So
nice.
When I have a client coming on board, we charge AUM, but I'm looking at stuff that I don't directly get compensated on, but it's part of my value.
Love that. Makes all the sense in the world. And so I'm intrigued. Obviously, with that, I guess, mil to 5 mil range, are you kind of looking at, I guess, $1 a year kind of minimum that fee that you're tending to work with for a client?
Generally, yeah.
Right. I'm intrigued from your point of view. Like, if someone came to you and they were like, look, I'm more than happy to pay the fee, I just don't have those assets to manage. Is that sort of a conversation you're like, do you know what? We're probably just not a good fit then, or is that something you are still kind of open to?
Yeah, it's tough because as an advisor, I want to help everyone. If they're not, 60 years old, 50 years old in near retirement, they definitely don't have $1 million or more. But there's a lot of people that I would be comfortable working with that make higher income. They're saving a lot of money. They might be in jobs where they have stock options, so they might get regularly quarterly vesting, and they want to diversify that. Those are people that I would definitely consider working with because there's opportunity to grow with, and they need a lot of help as well. The way people earning $250,000, it's great, but we have a high cost of living area. They still might not be saving a lot, or they might.
Fantastic. And I think one kind of last thing that I'd love to dive into, because you've mentioned a couple of times, is your kind of area. So do you exclusively work kind of in person?
No, I mean, COVID changed that. Because I'm pure RIA, I don't have a broker dealer. I don't have the restrictions on who I can work with and where. So yes, would I love people locally? Great. But I'm totally happy to work with people around the country.
And we can kind of go through habits, demographic, and it may or may not be a kind of good fit for what you're looking for. If it's not, then no harm, no foul, and that's not a problem at all. But yeah, effectively, exactly that. So effectively, the way we kind of categorize the majority of people coming through habits is those that have reached their DIY expiration date. Now, usually that means they're hitting some kind of pivotal life moment. So these are often people high earning, younger professionals, I would say. So the majority, like I said, I think the average age is around 32. We have people younger, we have people older. It does tend to be people that are looking to work with an advisor for the next 30, 40, 50 years. These are people that are wanting long-term connections usually, and they're willing to pay for the advice. But I think the way the financial services industry has typically been is, unless you have 500k in assets as a bare minimum, you're not going to have a conversation with a high quality advisor. That's not so much the case anymore. And I think people are kind of opening up more and more to the idea of working with these extreme high potential clients that, yeah, they might not have the millions in assets today, but you know that because they're making 200k a year and they are 24 years old, in 5 years time they're going to be an unbelievable financial client for you. I think the key for us from an advisor sort of prospect relationship is it is quality over quantity. So our goal is not to send you kind of 15 contact informations a week and say, right, pick up the phone, get dialing, see if any of these guys are interested. That's not the way we went about it. I think we've spoken with thousands of people at this point that are kind of have been in and around the kind of financial advice space, and often I won't name any names, but there are consumers that have kind of received 4 or 5 phone calls from 5 different advisors in the space of an afternoon, and they didn't realize that they had given any information. Maybe they'd used a mortgage calculator or a retirement planning calculator, and it's like, and from the advisor's side, it's like, right, well, if you're advisor number 4 or 5 calling, that's a pretty tough conversation to have. And even if you're that first one, it's a case of, right, as soon as this comes in, I know I've got to pick up the phone and dial, because if not, I'm going to be that number 4 or 5. So we wanted to steer pretty well away from that. The way that our platform works, they'll go through our onboarding, which includes Plaid verification. So everyone on the platform is a verified human, US taxpayer, are exactly who they say they are. They'll then kind of share their high-level financial picture. So that will include things like income, assets, debt, categories they're looking for help with. Is it taxes, investment management? And then they can also share in their own words what they're looking for. So we've had a lot of people come through and it's like, I'm making more money than my parents have ever made and I don't know what I should be doing. We've had other people where it's like, I have an autistic son and I want to make sure that we've got trust set up for him in the event that my wife and I were to pass away. They will then see a list of advisors that it makes sense for them to meet with, which means the advisor can kind of provide what they're looking for, and they as a consumer meet the advisor's criteria. If you only want to speak with people that have 1 million in assets, you can go and select that on the platform. I'm going to level with you. If that is your kind of like flaw and you're like, look, I don't really want to work with anyone less than that, I would advise you probably not to join the platform at this point. I don't think you'll see the value. It's really more for those that are planning to accumulate for the next 20 years. So if it, like I said, if it's not the case, then that's not a problem. So if we're seeing advisors with sort of less than 25%, that's probably my cue as customer success manager to jump in and kind of say, it's not a finger pointing exercise and saying you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong. It's what's not working, because these are 4 people that have come through and met your ICP. They are exactly who you've told us you're trying to work with.
And requested you.
Exactly.
Scheduled on your own calendar.
Exactly, and none of them ended up moving forwards with you. So what's not working? Is it a case that there's something you're doing in the introduction call? Is it that your sort of profile is that maybe bringing in people that aren't actually quite meeting your ICP? Is there a tweak that we can be making so that people that are coming in, you are able to completely articulate the benefits that you can bring them? So I would say that's kind of the gist. I'll pause because I can honestly talk for England. Any kind of questions or gut reactions? But yes.
So you were, I'm going to go back because this is great. The future goals of the platform is step 1 is really just adding advisors, doing a matchmaking program. What's step 2?
Yeah, great. So really we see if you acquired only one, this is what it looks like for you. So for us, I think in terms of, especially if you're sort of setting your minimums at that higher level, which is completely fine. Like we've had people come through with the 2 mil. I think the most we've had is around 5 mil in assets, but I want to be very clear, the platform is not built for those people. I mean, if you're landing one of those clients a year, then this is a pricing model that we would need to rectify. Where I would say from the conversation that you and I have had, I think if you can see the value of working with someone meeting this set income that you can set in the app with a set sort of asset level that you can set in the app and kind of working with them for the next 30 years, they might be lower than the clients that you're typically working with. So I want to make that clear. The average is, but if you can see the value in that, then I think having us as an extra string to your bow, it is a great kind of option for diversifying your client acquisition, because really what's needed from you is extremely minimal. Like we kind of spoke about earlier, you don't have the time to go out and be calling these prospects. These are people that have come to you, book time on your calendar, and that's the first you're hearing of it. If you see the value in that, then this is a conversation that we can by all means continue. If for you it's like it probably doesn't make sense, then that's not a problem either, and we can always revisit the conversation down the line. Who knows, maybe in a year, 2 years, we'll have a high net worth, ultra high net worth vertical. That would probably
also I could evolve my business, you know, if I change the model, or I know this is a potential great platform. Okay, I got to get running. I really appreciate this phone call. If it's okay, I'll reach out. I have your contact info to see if we should do the next steps.
Sure. Well, what I would suggest, so I'll send this deck over to you in an email anyway. What I'll do, I can just include Jack on that email and sort of ask him to go ahead and sort of get in touch to schedule that recorded call. How that goes is he will just share his calendar link. So you can then go and book time with him, and ball's in your court.
That's perfect.
Beautiful. It was a pleasure. Have a great rest of your day, and yeah, hopefully this will be the first of many.
You too, Matt.
Perfect. All right, thanks. Bye. So yeah, hopefully you found that at least somewhat interesting. That is kind of how I tend to go about my initial calls with someone. But yeah, feel free to let me know if there's anything you would like to see. Startup related, habit like specific, remote working, anything. So yeah, let me know. Like the video, subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and yeah, thanks for watching.